Hey, welcome to the Mind Hacking Happiness Podcast. My name is Sean Webb. Looks like we're at day 6 of our Mind Mastery 101 course, 45-day course that you can get into indefinitely for as long as the website exists at mindhackinghappiness.com. These free episodes might disappear, but if you register for the course, which is usually $1,000, I've discounted it down to $100 sometimes. But if you get in now, you get lifetime access for free. So go do that. And don't forget, if you send the course out to some folks and you get 5 folks to just mention your name on the forums, which they get access to after they sign up for the course, then you get into the drawing for $100. In fact, we may increase that in the future to give away more than one of those, but it'll be Amazon gift card for $100. So make sure you do that. Send this out to your friends, get them to mention your name. And for every 5 names, every 5 people that you get to mention your name, you get into the drawing again, over and over and over. And I haven't checked how many. I know there are hundreds of people who've signed up for the course. I don't know how many people are qualified for the drawing yet. We're still ramping up on that, but we got a lot of time. So get on that. And with no further ado, here is day 6, the 45-day Mind Mastery 101. Hey, welcome to day 6 of the 45-day course, Mind Mastery 101 from Mind Hacking Happiness. I am your instructor, Sean Webb. Hey, how you doing? I hope you had a good couple of days off. How did your meditation go? I hope you're doing the homework because, again, if you're not doing the homework, you're not going to get any of the mind mastery portion of this course. You're just going to understand a little bit better about how your mind works, which isn't going to help you a whole ton. It'll help you a little bit. But unless you're doing the activities, you're not going to get down the path on the mind mastery piece. So how did it go? How did your meditation go? Did you find a lot of interruptions and your mind wandering a lot? And that's totally normal, by the way. I would fully expect that to be the case, that your mind is trying to continually distract you, because that's the pattern it's been in for a long time. Don't feel bad at all if that was your experience with your meditation. Just like learning anything new, you're going to suck at it at first, which is okay. And then as you practice it and you be diligent and you be persistent, you get better at it over time and it becomes more easy. And then you start to reap the benefits of, my son is playing baseball right now, and he's learning how to throw the ball and hit the ball and field ground balls and things like that. And he sucked at it at first, but now that he's practicing, he's getting much better at it, and he's hitting much better, and he's taking the lessons that he's learning from his failures and he's applying them, and he's becoming a pretty good baseball player. Well, same can be true of meditation and of mind disciplines. So that's what we're talking about. So how'd it go? Was it okay? Well, feel good that you'll be getting better at those things as we hand you more tidbits of homework into the future. Let's go ahead and get into today's lesson. Today's lesson is going to be shorter because tomorrow's is going to be a little bit longer. So we're going to talk about the basics of the brain today, and we're going to talk about it from a 50,000-foot view so that we can build the foundation of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Now, from a 50,000-foot view, your brain is an organ, right? It's basically a portion of your body that exists up in your head, but it's an organ. And every organ in our body has a specific purpose, and the specific purpose of our brain is that it's our organ of survival. Our brain is basically the thing that helps us survive from 1 minute to the next, from one day to the next, from 1 year to the next. It is the thing that helps us find the food, like our memory helps us find where the food and water is. Our cognition and thinking helps us figure out how to build a shelter. Our imagination helps us practice mentally for future situations. Our humor even helps us coax someone into bed to help propagate the species and continue humanity, right? So everything that our brain does is connected with helping us survive from 1 minute to the next, from 1 day to the next, from 1 year to the next, to help solve our problems, etc. Now, the portion of the brain that specifically does this the most is called the limbic system. And we talked about the limbic system a little bit last week with a quick introduction. But basically, it's our more primitive brain. It's in the midbrain section. It scans our senses and thoughts for threats. It's the quickest brain portion of our brain that is firing at any one moment because it's always looking for the threat. It's like, ooh, is that a coiled snake or is that a coiled hose next to me? And That's where you jump a little bit and you look down and you analyze it. And that's your limbic system scanning your senses for threats. It initiates all the protective emotional responses that we have, to include a lot of our negative emotions. Fear response, anger response, startle response, all come from the limbic system. And our emotions, of course, are the are the programs that urge us toward action, of mitigating whatever threat exists. Okay, if you are a fan of Antonio Damasio at USC, he basically coined the definition of emotions as the programs that our brain creates the output for, which urge us into action. That's what our emotions are, is they're the signals that our brain sends to say, hey, there's a potential danger here, let's take some action, right? And ironically, and I say this because of how we've changed over the last 150 years, ironically, when the limbic system shuts down, it shuts off the thinking brain, which is really interesting. Now, 150 years ago, that made sense. Because if you're out in the fields dealing with your crops or whatever it is, and you run into a snake or a bear or a danger, you don't need to think a whole lot to be able to avoid that danger. All of the energy in your body is shunted to your muscles. The adrenaline is pumped into your system, so the muscles work faster and harder, so that you can get away from whatever threat exists out in the field 150 years ago. But today, all of our problems now seem to be one of the thinking kind, one of the types of problems that we have to figure out the solution to get ourselves out of, which is unfortunate because the limbic system shuts off our thinking brain, stealing 10 to 20 IQ points from our ability to figure out how to get out of our issues. So we got to figure our way out of that. And this course is going to help us do that. It's going to help us get you back that 10 to 20 IQ points as we move forward, even in the heat of the moment of the potentially threatening situation. Now, the limbic system also creates stress and creates stress hormones such as cortisol, which is linked to death and disease and inflammation. Bad stuff occurs when the limbic system fires too often. So turning it off as often as possible is definitely the key to a happier and healthier life. So now we talked about a couple of days ago the Name It, Tame It studies that helped us understand that understanding our emotions and putting a cognitive understanding to our emotional process not only helps us better understand our mind, but it helps our limbic system feel heard and engages our Name It, Tame It circuits, which are the circuits that magically turn off our negative emotion centers in the limbic system. So when the limbic system's firing, it's saying, hey, here's a message, here's that message, here's that communication that I wanted to send to you that says there could be a potential danger here. So I want to give you this fear reaction, I want to give you this anger reaction, I want to give you this action that'll urge you into a response. Well, engaging our thinking circuits associated with that emotion gives the limbic system that I'm heard feeling, right? And you remember we talked about the Love Lab a week ago with John Gottman. The number one factor in a successful marriage is if one of the partners feels heard and sees it in the actions of the other. Well, the same is true of the brain, because that's where our outer actions come from, is the interactions of our brain and our mind. So when the limbic system feels heard, it shuts down. And they've seen this in live fMRI brain scans, to where if you put an understanding to an emotional reaction, the emotional reaction ceases to trouble you. So as proven in studies, this turns down your negative mind activity and increases happiness and well-being. And this is the best course currently available for understanding your emotions right here. This 45-day Mind Mastery 101. This is the best course for understanding your emotions currently in media, period. Sorry, no other way to say that to sound cocky about it, but it's good news because you're in on it. So that's awesome. So now, all that said, this is all we need to know to set up what we're going to talk about tomorrow, which is a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of how those emotions come to be. And this is where the meat of the course starts to flow, and where you get a really awesome understanding of how exactly all of your emotional reactions come to be, which will give you the cognitive understanding of the emotion in play and the communication being sent by the limbic system, which will then help you shut it off a lot quicker. So here's your homework for today, is another 10-minute meditation session. Meditation is, of course, an exercise in entering meta-awareness. Meta-awareness is the control room of the mind, and as you do it more often, you'll get better at it. So I want you to do another 10-minute session of meditation today, which is just focusing on your breath, breathing in, breathing out, allowing the distractions of your mind to arise, noticing those, letting them go, and going back to your breath as often as possible. And if you want to do a longer session, you're welcome to. A good 15, 20-minute session is great. In fact, studies show that, even just a couple of 20-minute sessions during a week will help your health, and it will help your the noise level of your mind decrease, and the cortisol decrease, and all the bad stuff that occurs in your body that causes inflammation, causes diseases. All that stuff relinquishes itself when you're meditating. It backs off from its constant attack. And so if you want to up your timer, go ahead. Knock yourself out. If you want to use a program like an Insight meditation timer or whatever, and go through one of their pre-programmed meditations, great. Knock yourself out. Do that. But do it. Do it as the homework. And then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll attack the next bigger concept of one of the basic components that helps build a lot of your emotional reactions and your mind reactions up in your noggin. Okay, hope you had a great day today. Hope you had a great couple of meditation sessions this last quote-unquote weekend before this last break, and one more today before a new lesson tomorrow. See you tomorrow.